All year round, Frontier Home Products and Design has what you need to make your home comfortable and beautiful. Relax on a new timber tech deck designed by Frontier's experts. A new fireplace from Frontier Home Products Fireplace Gallery adds warmth and serenity to any home. Beauty and versatility at Frontier Home Products and Design Center, 4213 Peachtree, East 5th, next to the Bayfront Highway.
Frontier Home Products and Design Center. Discover a new frontier.
PA contractor number PA039007.
Get paid to drive. Start a new career behind the wheel at the EMTA. If you are looking for a high-paying and rewarding career with full benefits and paid training, stop by or apply online today with the EMTA. Plus, EMTA riders can now enjoy free Wi-Fi on new, clean, and environmentally friendly buses to travel all over Erie County. Visit ridethee.com for more information.
Get on board EMTA. Get on board EMTA. Get on board.
Welcome to TalkErie.com's Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast. Every day, we tackle the biggest issues that the Erie PA region faces. Stay informed and involved as we advance the narrative of Erie. Now, here's Joel Natale.
We're having an entrepreneurial conversation with Bill Catania, and you are the leader of One Rail, a cutting-edge logistics company. Bill, welcome to the show. Appreciate you being on.
Thank you. I really appreciate it as well. Great to be here.
All right, let's get an origin story. You grew up close, right?
Really close. I grew up in Westfield, New York. You know, that's where I spent the first 22 years of my life, and then it was, I want to say 2002 that I moved to Erie.
Okay. What led you to Erie? Because it sounds like you went to college somewhere else, right?
Yeah, went to Cornell. So
okay, cool.
I did my tour duty there, and then my wife had a couple of years to finish up vet school, so she did that. And
okay.
We wanted to locate back here to Erie, PA, or close to home, right?
Yeah,
to be around family, 3 kids.
Wow.
So Erie was the right place, and I was working from home at the time on my first startup, so it didn't really matter where I was. But
sure.
It was just good to get back close to family.
All right. So what did your entrepreneur mindset kind of bubble up at Cornell? Did you have a business degree or whatever? Or?
Yeah, I've always been entrepreneurial, and you know, I go back to elementary school. I'd sold baseball cards,
nice.
And stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, when I was at Cornell, I went in there kind of pre-law. You know, wanted to be an attorney, maybe. Thought about politics a lot. All it took was working one summer on Capitol Hill to realize that's probably not where I want to be. And not because I don't like the role. Mm-hmm. I just thought that lifestyle wasn't really what I wanted just yet. So
I don't know how the kids make it, Bill. Honestly, I mean, when you're grinding as like an intern or just some kind of a staffer, you're making like minimum wage almost and working 80 hours a week.
It's hard work. A lot of people don't realize how hard work it is. And, you do it because you love it. And I just didn't have it in my heart like some people did. And it was ironic. I went back to school, took my first economics class, and that was it. So from there, really was on a path to maybe work for one of the big brands. Like I was recruited by Philip Morris and a few other big groups, but ended up getting bit by the .com. It turned into a bubble,
Right. So what era? When was this? Like
2000 is when I.
Okay,
when I
so
graduated.
Really the bubble,
right at the peak of excitement, and there were some big startups coming out of Cornell. Probably the biggest one was Blackboard.com, which went on to become what today is really the leading kind of e-learning solution.
Yes.
So that bug bit me pretty big, and I ended up doing my first startup when I was in my senior year there.
It's so funny. They always bring up when they talk about the 99, 2000 bubble, pets.com. Remember that with the sock puppet and all that? But that's really a poor representation of what ended up happening.
You know what's really ironic now that I think back? There were so many .coms that really tried to go headfirst into e-commerce, and they all failed. I can almost say all of them failed except for Amazon. And the reason Amazon didn't fail is Bezos realized he had to reinvent the supply chain. That's why he succeeded. He rebuilt it. He refactored it.
He wow. Yeah, when you think about we're looking at a Amazon Prime truck right outside our window.
Yes.
I mean, not more than 10, 15 years ago that was a UPS truck.
That's right.
But he did a vertical integration from owning the store or housing the stores, housing the materials, the product, to getting it to the last mile.
That's right.
Incredible.
It is. And, they relied heavily on third-party carriers and couriers in the beginning. Mm-hmm. But once they built enough density, like that truck is going to do probably 70 deliveries today. Once they built enough density, then it made sense to start building their own network.
Right.
But he built that on the backs of FedEx, UPS, and then FedEx decided not to serve Amazon anymore.
Wow.
So it's real interesting how Amazon has changed the whole landscape.
All right, so you were involved in a .com area, and what happened to that business there?
Well, that was a business of love and something that I really love, which is auto racing.
Oh, cool!
I grew up around State Line and Erie Speedway around here. Erie's is where I ran my first ever race, and then Lake Erie Speedway when they opened. So I started a company called Race Fan. And we became one of the top destinations for racing news and information in the U.S. We had around 20 million views a month, and we aggregated racing news from over 1,000 local racetracks.
That's astounding. So really, even back then, 25 years ago, you were talking about content generation.
That's right.
So the content side of things before the e-commerce. Although I would imagine you had like swag and stuff, right?
Oh, we had swag, and what was? Of course, we had swag.
Of course, you had swag.
But what made that company interesting was I observed all the failures of .com, and there was a real narrative around bricks and clicks, not just clicks, but bricks. So what we did with RaceFan is we had an amazing .com business, but then next to that was the bricks part of it, where we actually would go out and secure the marketing rights from local racetracks, and then we would sell their marketing inventory to companies like Valvoline, Napa, the U.S. Army. Those dollars never made it to the local racetracks.
Wow.
They'd sponsor 10 million, 20 million to a NASCAR team and say, there, that checks the box. But they weren't getting into the grassroots. So it was a one of a kind business where we did promotions at about 600 racetracks our biggest year, and then the .com was next to it. So a company like Valvoline would get representation face-to-face at the track and then online.
That's remarkable. So signage and, special events, VIP stuff,
exactly.
The whole, so you're mixing .com, you're mixing, traditional graphics, and also, I would imagine, experiences, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, meet the racers and all that stuff.
We did a lot around giveaways.
Did you?
To create some of those experiences. So, for example, we would work with like MBNA, which used to be a big credit card company, all those affinity credit cards. We would do sign-ups at the track for the credit card, but that would all roll up to some driving experience.
Oh, my goodness.
It was fun. Cool. And it was a business, 100%, but it was, again, in an area that I have a lot of passion for.
Sure. All right, so when did M. Network kick in? Because that was your claim to fame here in Erie, right?
Yeah, that was born right here in Erie. I couldn't have done it without my two partners. I have to always recognize Dan Benzer and Kevin Seeker.
Yeah.
The three of us started it. I had sold RaceFan. I had sold out of that business. And within, 7-8 months.
Like, who picked that up? Car and Driver or something like that?
Actually sold it back to the investors because I wanted to do something different.
Sure. Okay.
And I felt like I'd kind of reached a point, there was another phase of the business where we were going to buy racetracks. And I didn't see, with the way the markets were, I didn't see that coming yet.
Okay.
So I ended up moving on. When I was at Cornell, did a lot around brand and kind of food marketing. And, I joined Dan Benzer at his agency where we did a ton of exciting things for companies like 7-Eleven and Kroger, food and product design.
Yeah.
And 10 months into it, I just started doing things I shouldn't have been doing. And Dan knew that was going to happen when he hired me.
Right, yeah.
He said, I know you're an entrepreneur.
He's going to go rogue on us.
Right. So I don't know. I started seeing some things, and it's funny how a startup starts. It doesn't end the way it starts. I started to observe the Giant Eagle gas savings program.
Okay.
And I thought, why should they have gas pads at the grocery store? Because at the time they were putting these gas pads at the grocery store. So then I started thinking about, can we build a middleware that makes it possible to shop and then go to any Sunoco, for example.
Right.
So it made it so the grocery store didn't have to manage gas, because it's a pain to manage gas.
Sure.
So that took us down this path of building a fuel savings program. That didn't really work out because there was already somebody doing that. Then, Kevin actually had a lot of experience in mobile technology. So the thought was, why don't we build a prepaid phone where you can get free airtime? So if you buy certain things in the store, instead of free gas like you get with the grocery fuel savings, you can get free airtime. So we went down that path, and we actually secured a huge customer, second largest grocery chain in the country, Safeway.
Yeah, of course.
And they put our phones on the end of every end cap in 1,000 stores. So at that point, we were somewhat terrified because we didn't have an investor, and we signed Safeway, and we just dug as deep as we could, to make it work. But we launched it.
Can I little rabbit trail here? So I'm trying to understand. Okay, we're gonna sell prepaid phones.
Yes.
There's this whole supply chain going into that. This is not, I'm making an app and I'm going to charge. There's a lot here.
There's a lot here, and there's economics that a lot of people don't realize. There's something in business they call the razor blade model. And if you think about it, it's the same as printers.
Yeah.
You can buy a printer dirt cheap.
Right.
But then to buy those cartridges are very expensive. You can buy a razor blade. Razor.
Yeah, Gillette, $6 for a razor. Yeah.
But when you go to buy the razors, it's $20, right? Prepaid phones specifically they used to be the same way, where they would give so we had to basically lose money on the phone, and then we needed about 4 to 6 months to make that up on airtime.
Oh my!
And we were doing that with hardly any capital. We were doing that just by the grace of God and hard work, and we launched it. We launched it in all 1,100 Safeways and.
Plus, you need the end cap, the signage, all the hooks and all the things.
Yeah, and we sold that in. Safeway gave us the whole package, where they marketed that phone. It was their brand. And then it happened. So we launched this thing, gosh, it would have been August of sometime in 2008. And we all know what happened in September of 2008. So we had secured a term sheet from the biggest venture fund in Pittsburgh at the time. It was Draper Triangle, which is one of the big Draper funds, and for a Series A. And we lost it the day after the markets crashed. They pulled the term sheet. So now we're sitting there with no funding, no hope of funding. And that's really what caused us to pivot to become what MDOT was known for, which is digital coupons.
You were talking about the phones, and it's kind of morphed into this digital couponing. All right. Had there been digital couponing before you guys entered the market?
Yeah, digital couponing was about 10 years old at that point, but it had never scaled the right way. And the reason it didn't scale, and this was the blessing that came out of the phone, was the phone taught us a lot about how to activate that from the point of sale.
Okay.
And when we learned how to do that, that gave me the ability to conceptualize how to do something similar to redeem a coupon that hadn't been done that way.
Okay.
It was being done with servers in a store. We found a way to do it with the cloud.
Gotcha. All right. So tell us what MDOT was. Were you a service provider to retailers? I'm thinking of Wegmans. Are we talking about the swipe card, basically?
Yeah. So there was no system of record to do this. It was being done by the loyalty servers.
Yeah.
Like loyalty
like
programs.
Shoppers Club, yeah.
Yeah, Shoppers Clubs have been around a long time. The problem with Shopper Club programs is they can't see anything external to the store. So if a shopper were to go online to coupons.com and clip coupons, it had no way to load it in real time so a shopper could just check out immediately. So loyalty card programs solved 80%, not 100% of the problem. So they were limping for 10 years, and they had limits on how many coupons you could put in it and everything. So yeah, what we did is we conceptualized, hey, let's aggregate every coupon issuer, coupons.com, Red Plum, all these different big coupon companies into one pool of coupons. Let's give them to the retailer on their website so that the shopper doesn't have to leave the web, because every retailer wants the shopper to stay on their website to get all that value. And then let's connect the point of sale to the cloud and do it in 200 milliseconds.
Oh my goodness.
And some of these transactions were taking 10 seconds from some of the companies that we were competing against because they weren't using the cloud. They were using really horrible infrastructure. So that's how we change the game. Aggregate all the coupons, give them to the retailer, do a real-time, almost like a Visa MasterCard transaction, and then be the retailer's best friend. That was the last part, I called it retail-centric. So we would go to Wegmans. They already had a shopper card.
Yes.
We want that to work with our program, so it's all one program, which is what they wanted too. They didn't want a separate program working with coupons.com. So we just aligned all of our interests with the retailer, and it took all the friction out of it, and it made it work.
Amazing. So have we used this, you think?
Well,
I mean, without even knowing it?
Oh, I would guarantee you have. It's powered digital couponing at Tops since 2011. Wow. Wegmans since 2014, Family Dollar. And today it processes about 70% of all paperless digital coupons. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say we couldn't have done it without the 110 angel investors we had, many of which were right here in Erie. And they were teachers, they were chiropractors, they were doctors, they were realtors. They were people who, when 2008 happened, lost faith in the public market.
Right.
And there was a lot of money, they say, on the sidelines, and we got some of that. We got about $4 million of local money to build MDOT. And if it wasn't for them, we couldn't have done it.
What did that $4 million, where did you have to put that? Because you're saying you're using the cloud. So was that basically a cash transfer to Amazon Web Services, basically?
No, believe it or not, it was the team. We had a really amazing engineering team.
Yes.
And we recruited a team that built really the first generation of coupon technology. It was called Catalina. And it's that paper coupon that prints out when you check out that you don't see as much anymore.
No.
But they had built that solution, which went public. And I found a bunch of engineers that were disgruntled, that were part of that company. And I shared my vision with them, and they made it happen. And,
wow.
We couldn't have made it successful without them either.
So this is happening as almost seamlessly, basically.
Yeah.
With kind of store branding, but there's also some of these big. What is it? Rasputin. I want to say Rasputin.
Oh, Rakuten.
Rakuten. What is that?
So that's a great question. There's two types of coupons in the world. There's those that flow with the transaction when you're shopping. So with MDOT, we found a way to see every scan of the cashier would make at the point of sale, and then we would compare that in the cloud to a digital wallet, and we could impact the price at the cash register so you pay less. Wow. Pretty much all the other coupons are coupon codes.
Yes.
Or you scan a receipt and get a rebate. It doesn't impact the actual point of sale transaction. And you mentioned Amazon, the irony of the whole thing. Amazon is a big part of my life now with my current company, just as not really a direct competitor, but we won the Amazon Global Startup of the Year with MDOT, which we beat 1,500 companies. A lot of them were Google, early days Google people that built AdWords and all these things.
Yeah.
And we beat them because of the novel way that we leveraged the cloud, because that was a long time ago in cloud years, 2010.
That is, yeah. I mean,
50 years ago.
That's astounding.
Yeah.
I notice now in some of my shopping, by signing up for Capital One shopping, for example, it examines all of my online shopping and sees if I can save money. That's kind of similar technology, I would think.
It's similar, but it's doing it in the store. So think about all the products on the shelf. With this technology, it makes those products eligible for extra savings.
It's so amazing.
And online, you see, again, Rakuten, you see a lot of the credit card companies, it's easier, believe it or not, it's easier to sort of have visibility to what's being bought online than it is in the store, because that cash register is a black box. And those black boxes haven't been changed in 20 years, some of them. So we had to figure out how to make that work with a data connection, which in some cases it hadn't supported yet. And so it's a lot more complex to make that work with the point of sale.
The imagination that it takes, Bill, the what ifs. What if we could do this? What if we could do that? that's an essential part of you being an extraordinarily successful entrepreneur. Is there a best practice, or is there some kind of a regiment that you do to not limit yourself, not put yourself in a box?
I think the biggest thing is to be honest with yourself. And if you're trying to sell a vision that's not possible, you need to own that early and realize, hey, we can't touch the point of sale. So I say that because every engineer I hired said we can't touch the point of sale. And I believed we could touch the point of sale. It's really hard. It's like doing brain surgery. Grocery chains don't want you in their point of sale. So one of the greatest compliments I got that I felt, was pretty significant was from a guy named Steve Goforth. He was really my head of point of sale, and he'd been in the industry 35 years. He said, Bill, I never would have thought we could do that, but I couldn't have done it without him.
Wow.
I knew that we could get in that transaction. I knew for conceptually how to do it, but he knew how to make it happen. And that's what every great startup has. You have to have the vision to do things that haven't been done, but then have the people to execute it. And it changes reality. It changes what they perceive to be reality.
Is the amount of data and the amount of data mining that now is there. I mean, again, this goes right back to the Shoppers Club, but they have a profile on each of us.
Yes.
That we like sourdough pretzels, right?
Yes. And what's really crazy, so that's exactly what the next phase was for Inmar, who acquired us, was how do we now take all this data and do shopper marketing and do a better job upselling, cross-selling, getting customers to buy more. And the craziest thing when we started going down that path was we brought in a data scientist, and he said, what do you think the number one most purchased product is with Cheez-Its? You're welcome to guess if you want.
I have no idea.
You want to try?
I'm down to 10 seconds. Right? What is it?
Tide.
Quickfill gasoline is made right here in America. United Refining Company, who operates Quickfill, refines its gasoline from North American crude oil in Warren, Pennsylvania. When you buy United Refining Company gasoline at Quickfill, you keep jobs and businesses in America. And you keep American families strong. You don't need to send your money overseas when you buy gasoline. Buy American-made gasoline at Quickfill. Quickfill, driving America.
From baggage claim to pajamas in 10 minutes. Erie International Airport. Fly with ERI.com.
Fly Erie International Airport to Charlotte on American Airlines, your nonstop gateway to the world. Also, we have Breeze Airways flying nonstop to Orlando and Tampa, Florida. A great low-cost carrier providing excellent service to the regional community. Fly Erie International for your travel needs.
Fly with ERI.com.
Bill, we've gone through half of the conversation. We were just getting to your latest company here. MDOT, again, an amazing success, and this is leading to this One Rail, a cutting-edge logistics company. So this is quite a pivot, but I could see this. I could see why you would get into logistics here, but you tell the story if you would.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities in how we do it. So, it started out like a lot of companies start out. When I woke up that day, I didn't plan to start a company. I planned to just live a normal day, but my refrigerator broke, and that caused me to start figuring out where to buy it. And I saw Lowe's Home Improvement was advertising free delivery. I thought, well, that's a great idea. At least I won't have to pay for it. I'll get it today, because I assumed I'd get it today. So went to the store, bought the refrigerator, told the guy behind the customer service desk, hey, bring it anytime. I'm here all day. I'm flexible. And he said, I'm sorry, sir, it'll be 10 days. And that was because Lowe's hadn't operationalized delivery yet. This was back, September of 2015, roughly.
Yeah.
They hadn't yet really dedicated employees. They didn't have dedicated trucks. They did it when they could do it. And they said, that's when we can commit.
And they were outsourcing the delivery process, right?
Actually, no. They were leasing a couple trucks from Ryder, and they just let their employees do it when they weren't busy.
Oh,
and that was there was this backlog
Yeah.
And it was 10 days, and it was right there. It was in the store. It wasn't like I had to
Oh,
go.
okay. So it wasn't like you
No.
didn't. You had to wait for the warehouse. Okay.
No. So within like seconds, I start searching for Uber for delivery, Uber for moving. There has to be some dude with a truck that could just come and pick this up. $80. We'll all be happy. There wasn't. And that put me on a path pretty much night and day just to think about that problem. And I become a student of whatever startup I'm doing. I try to become a student of it for a while. So I learned all I could about moving, home moving, delivery, which then led, that was September of 15. I launched it to consumers in would have been June of 16 as an on-demand moving and delivery company, mostly doing moving, not delivery.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so what did that entail when you say that you're an on-demand? Is that a website? Is that a phone call system? What is that?
We had an app and we had a website. We went out and recruited drivers, people that had trucks. It was all big and bulky, everything we did. We didn't mess around with small item. So we recruited a truck network, launched it in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And that was how we got started. And from a consumer standpoint, they would go into the app, they would answer some questions. There was a pricing algorithm behind it. So if you had a room worth of stuff that needs to go to storage, we would ask all the right questions, give you a price, you pay, drivers dispatched. That's how we got started.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
So tell us how has scaled since then.
Yeah, it sure changed. So we did that for a couple years, my wife Lisa and I, and
she's still dealing with the doggies and kitties and stuff.
She is. She different wife.
Okay.
So,
sorry. Yeah,
that's okay.
I apologize.
It's all right.
Yeah.
But we still have lots of doggies and kitties.
Okay.
We do have. I forget how many we have. 6.
Seriously.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah. 6 kids, 6 doggies and kitties. We do things in 6s. But so she's actually out there. She's my co-founder in this company, and she works just as hard as I do, if not harder, every day.
Okay.
Now that we're 200 employees, it's scaled quite a bit.
Yeah.
We're not working any less though. What we did is we pivoted, and the pivot came about after operating for a couple years, and we were doing fine. We could have built a nice business that we could have grown without investors, for years. But the bigger problem that I wanted to solve was, how do we give retailers that are not Amazon, which is pretty much everybody, Amazon-like capabilities, so they can do same-day delivery? How do we help them unlock their store as a warehouse? I mean, that's essentially what we do. So we pivoted big time in September of 2019. And the pivot was to stop recruiting all these drivers, to stop putting that app out there, and to start building a platform that becomes really the operating system that retailers would use to power all their delivery. Not just a couple markets, but every delivery they do. So, and then instead of all these onesie, twosie drivers, let's go sign a contract with DoorDash, with Uber, with Lyft, and every single delivery company that wants to get deliveries from our customers. And then the third component was, let's make sure every delivery goes well and put a support team over the top of it. So that's what we did. And, we closed our first round of financing February of 20, like 2 weeks before the COVID lockdown.
Wow.
Which was a really horrible time to be, raising capital, but we got it done right before it was a challenge.
I would imagine that the demand for the delivery raised through those next 18 months, right?
It was so hard to watch that, because we were in a position, we knew the right thing to do. We just hadn't built the platform yet, because we started building it. But we were doing it kind of manually, but doing that model of aggregate the delivery companies, get every delivery from the shipper. And, today what it's scaled to is almost 300,000 deliveries a day. We power every single Lowe's store, ironically. That's where that little refrigerator problem happened. So every Lowe's in the country for same-day delivery, all 5,000 Advance Auto Parts stores, Tractor Supply. Companies like Pepsi use us for B2B distribution, U.S. Foods, American Tire Distributors, all big companies. You probably see a theme. And it's because it really solves the problem. And we've been fortunate to have Lowe's invest in the company, Pepsi invested in the company, and that's kind of where we are today. We've been running that same play ever since we pivoted.
What about the apparatus? Again, a Pepsi truck is different than a box truck for washers and dryers.
A lot different. And so what we're doing for companies like Pepsi, they have their fleet. They have 81,000 trucks. It's the biggest fleet in North America. But there's a lot of smaller customers they want to serve, and it's really tough to get their orders in the same as the 53-foot truck and make it efficient. So by using, it might just be a case of chips that's going to a dentist's office,
my goodness,
or a couple cases going to a Little League field. We're handling kind of the smallest 20% of distribution.
How did they handle that before? Did they have
just did it
district managers or jobbers or something?
No, they did it less profitably on their big trucks.
Oh my goodness!
And they're still doing. We haven't rolled out to every warehouse in the country yet with them. So, but there's a lot of different use cases for them. They do a lot of parcel shipping. If you think about it, you have a warehouse here, and you're doing all this parcel shipping. Do you need to send that via parcel within a 60-mile radius of that warehouse? Probably not, because it gets touched 4 times by UPS. So for us, we found a way to save them a lot of money for the local deliveries around their warehouses, just us taking them.
And that's how the Uber partner can play in that game with you.
That's right.
As opposed to, again, you still have that washer and dryer issue, but if it's a bathroom sink faucet, you could totally handle that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what the platform does. The platform looks, how big is what needs to be delivered? How many cubic inches is it? What does it weigh? And then that's what the data, that's some of the data we're using to match it to the right courier. If we see something that's over 50 pounds, it's not going to go to Uber or DoorDash because they can't deliver over 50 pounds. They don't deliver over 10 miles. So think of it as real-time Tetris, right? We're fitting these deliveries into the network so that it optimizes speed and cost.
So what is your capital expense? So you're not rolling trucks, are you?
We don't. We like I said, we do about 300,000 deliveries a day, and we don't own a truck. Only in 2024, right?
Holy smokes!
But our costs are the team.
Yes,
we have 75 engineers.
Really smart people.
Really smart people. Way smarter than me. That's always been my goal, right? Is to surround myself with really bright people. I can come up with a great idea, but I can't do it without them. And so we have a great engineering team. We now have a data science and AI team. We're adding 3 more data scientists right now. So we're doing a lot with data to even predict when a delivery is going to be late and to give it a different outcome.
Wow. Goldman Sachs has recognized you as one of the most exceptional entrepreneurs of 2024. How does that feel? And, was that on your bingo card, I guess?
Honestly, that I still haven't processed that. I mean, it really means a lot. Having the opportunity to meet David Solomon, the CEO of Goldman Sachs, and spend 3 or 4 days with him and, the global heads of pretty much everything at Goldman Sachs was amazing. And then more than anything, the other entrepreneurs that were there, from companies that are valued, some of them upwards of $10 billion, was really cool. So building a network, that includes them will help us, well into the future. But no, it wasn't on the bingo card. I mean, I'm just wake up every day and swing the axe and do what we can do. And when these recognitions come, very grateful, very grateful.
What kind of problems do you have to solve? Because you think about what's on the mind of most business owners are, I don't have enough help, or my help is not showing up. It's a lot about workforce these days.
Right.
You have a philosophy about workforce?
Well, I mean, we've gone all in on the company culture. It's work hard, play hard. We have a great office. When everybody said, hey, let's get out of the office, we went in the office. And we recruited and built a team. Now we have over 100 people in the office in Orlando. Everybody else is virtual. But we really invest heavily in culture, and that's things like this week. We have a Thanksgiving potluck on Wednesday. We're doing it a little bit early because of travel, but we had an event every day the week of Halloween. We have fun. We have costume contests, and for our holiday theming, we have Christmas tree, and every one of our customers has a logo on an ornament. Like, we just do all we can to build the culture. And we were chosen by it was Inc. The Inc. 5000. We were on the Inc. 5000 2 years in a row, but we were also recognized as one of the best places to work, and that means a lot. That's not something you can do with numbers. That's something that comes from our employees saying, yeah, we're happy and we like working here. So
why one rail? Why rail? Again, I mean, in Erie, we love the rail, right? We're Wabtec and GE, right?
Maybe that's why I came up with that name. I've been around rail. I grew up on the railroad tracks in Westfield, New York. I might as well.
Sure.
So it's funny, and it's not obvious. When I had MDOT, that was considered a fintech company, a financial technology company. We had to work within the constraints of a credit card. And the term that's used for the infrastructure that carries those credit card transactions is the rail. They call them payment rails.
Okay.
And there's around 8 transactions that happen when you swipe your credit card. But you don't know that. You don't see it. You don't think about it. You just wait for the receipt to print out. And I couldn't figure out for the life of me why delivery couldn't be that way.
Yeah.
And what we were finding was, even the biggest retailers were calling around to see if couriers were available. It was janky. It was terrible. And I just wanted it to be an order comes in and within a couple hundred milliseconds, a driver gets dispatched. And that's what we built. And there's
That's
rules
incredible.
and, governance and like a payment system. So one source of truth, rail. Yeah. One rail.
You mentioned AI. What could that do for your business, and what do you recommend, again, other entrepreneurs embracing AI?
I'll say 2 things on that. If it wasn't for AI, we wouldn't be in business.
Even now?
Yeah,
right?
We built the platform with machine learning and AI. And good example, our first customer was Menards, home improvement chain.
Yeah, in the Midwest, yeah.
Yep.
That's where my kids shop.
I love Menards. I wish I had a Menards in Florida, but I don't.
Yeah.
When an order would come in, we had what we call the dispatcher. This was version 1 of the platform, actually version 0.5. They would see that order, and then there was a drop-down menu. They could select a courier. They would dispatch, but it was all digital, right? One person could dispatch 80 deliveries a day. Today, one support agent, we don't call them dispatchers, can oversee 3,000 deliveries a day.
Oh, my.
And that's because AI, 100% AI, learning what network is going to be on time or not on time at a certain time of day for a certain type of product in a certain geography for a certain speed delivery. So it's contemplating all those variables, and it's saying, don't give it to DoorDash. They're busy doing food. Give it to Uber. Or don't give it to Courier
Like
Express.
real time? They know?
That math is happening in two,
They know that they're really busy over at Little Caesar, so...
They do.
Oh, my gosh.
And if we didn't do that, we wouldn't be in business because we'd have several thousand dispatchers.
Yeah.
We wouldn't even have a business. We just built our first AI product. It's, the proof of delivery you get shows your porch with the package on it. So we built AI, POD, proof of delivery AI, which is a big deal for wholesalers because they need to prove the product was delivered so they can get paid.
Sure.
So if you think about Ferguson Enterprises, big HVAC distribution company, even Advance Auto Parts, we do all their deliveries to repair shops around the country. If that POD isn't there, so we're validating it with AI now so that a human doesn't have to sit there and look at everyone, and we know what a box is supposed to look like. But yeah, it's the very beginning though. And my advice for entrepreneurs is don't think of AI as a separate thing. Think of it as something that should be woven into the DNA of your business. Mm-hmm. It's just like .com. .com, you remember when new media came out, mm-hmm. Now it's, then it's just media,
Right.
So think of AI as something that really should be fully integrated with your business, not, hey, we do this with AI. Think about how to automate a lot of your processes. We're using it now to quality control check code. We're checking code in. We're checking it with AI. Sure. We're using it for some of our support because we answer the phone on behalf of our customers. Certain types of things we can solve with AI. So, yeah, we use it every day.
Bill Catania is on. Just a couple more questions for you, Bill. You have never been really shy of taking on investors and things, and a lot of entrepreneurs, good or bad, they kind of try to hold things to their vest because they don't want to give up percentages or whatever. What's
Right.
your take on all that?
I'm loyal to one thing: share price. When you start taking on investors, there's rights that they have, and you have to realize you're not in full control anymore, and that's okay. Now you can structure it so that you can maintain some semblance of control. I'm loyal to share price, and so when I say that, I'm not afraid to raise capital and dilute myself, because if I'm doing that, I'm making a decision to grow the company and become a bigger pie, right? I'd rather have a smaller piece of a massive pie than a massive piece of a small pie. And that's just how I think. Every entrepreneur is different. I know what I'm signing up for. Mm-hmm. I feel like I lost control a long time ago. The only reason I'm still driving this is because I'm doing a good job. Yeah. Just like an athlete. My first ever investor, I signed my employment agreement with him at a Kinko's. That was Race Fan. And I said to him, I'd really like to have anti-dilution, and I'd like to have like a 2-year severance. And he laughed at me. He said, you don't get either one of those. You're like a professional athlete now. You're either going to perform or you're not. That's okay. I don't mind that. Yeah. And that's how I think about it. Don't even worry about percentages. If you're worrying about percentages, that's okay. It just means you're going to have a smaller business, and that's okay. That's what you're signing up for. But if you're trying to build something really, really big, it's really hard. I mean, Zuckerberg was able to hang on to a good chunk of his business, and so is Bezos. But those are outliers. That doesn't happen in the real world every day when you build that kind of company. Talk about
building or growing an entrepreneurial culture in a place like Erie, Pennsylvania. Again, you know, in Orlando, it's a highly desirable place, right? Again, but you started MDOT here. You got investors here, and it was just that it got sold, and you guys decided to move to Florida. But how do you grow something here?
Erie, Pennsylvania has every ingredient you need to be successful, and anybody that doesn't believe that either doesn't believe in Erie, Pennsylvania, or they just don't understand what all the tools are here. Mm-hmm. First of all, Ben Franklin, my gosh, Ben Franklin is one of the best organizations in the country for startups. I mean, they got behind MDOT. The amount of guidance and support and teaching that I got from Jim Costco and others at Ben Franklin it was unbelievable. The SBDC, Steve Overholt. I learned more from Steve Overholt in a 2-year period of time that I may have learned from anybody. So all the tools are here. And I'll tell you another thing. There's a lot of venture funds, and this is different today than MDOT. They don't want to invest in the Silicon Valley.
Interesting.
They want to find the gems in places like Erie, Pennsylvania. And because there's a lot of gems here. And it's just, it doesn't matter what zip code you're in. You have to wake up. You got to solve a problem. You have to provide value to your customer. Mm-hmm. And if you can wake up and do that and not quit, you got to get it capitalized. But we proved there's capital here. It was hard. I mean, we used to hold information sessions at our office at the Gannon Incubator, and we'd have 30 people in there listening to the MDOT story. And if, 2/3 of them would write a check. Wow. So you have to hustle. Erie, Pennsylvania, I could be just as successful here as Orlando. You just have to look around you and use every tool you can get your hands on, and can't say enough good about Ben Franklin and SBDC.
Bill Catania, again, he is the founder and CEO of One Rail. And congratulations on all your honors. And please stay in touch, because I know there's something upcoming. Yeah, I'm sure. You always have an idea rolling around, I would imagine.
I appreciate that very much, Joe. Thanks for having me on. And, I'll always have a very soft spot in my heart for Erie, and anything I could ever do to be helpful to anybody in Erie. I'm very reachable. So
beautiful.
You've been listening to The Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast from TalkErie.com. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher and get involved by emailing joel@TalkErie.com.